What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be honing in on something that I have touched on in a previous video back when I was breaking down the Battle Hardened perk, and this is the power of the flashbang grenades in Modern Warfare 2. This is something that's been a fairly common complaint in the community since the game launched, and honestly I was kind of thinking we would see an adjustment to this with the Season 2 updates, and yet nothing ended up changing. So I did want to revisit this and take a deeper look at the flashbang in this game, and I also wanted to compare it to some previous Call of Duty games to see how it stacks up and whether or not it is actually more powerful in Modern Warfare 2. And diving right in, I thought I'd start the comparison off here with Modern Warfare 2019, since that's the most recent Infinity Ward Call of Duty game, and many of the things in this game are based off of that game. And I was actually quite surprised to see that when there's no Battle Hardened or TAC Mask or anything involved here, the flashbang in Modern Warfare 2019 is pretty comparable to Modern Warfare 2. The timings are nearly identical here. And if anything, there's a bit more of a lingering effect in Modern Warfare 2019 where you can still see pretty well, but there's just a little bit more of a blur going on for a longer period of time. In practical terms though, with the actual blinding effect where you can't see anything that's going on, that's about the same in Modern Warfare 2019, which is very interesting because I don't remember too many complaints about the strength of flashbangs in Modern Warfare 2019. So my next thought is perhaps the counter perk to the flashbangs was just more powerful in Modern Warfare 2019, so it wasn't as much of an issue because you could just use that perk and then you didn't have to worry about them. So let's have a look at the side-by-side here. And once again, the timings are basically identical here. However, the effect is slightly different. And one thing that I wanted to point out here is in Modern Warfare 2019, it seemed like there was much more of a localized effect where you can see all of that distortion is right where the flashbang actually went off, whereas surrounding that, you can actually see a little bit of what's going on in the background, whereas in Modern Warfare 2, it's just like a flat effect that applies to your entire vision. And it is worth noting, it doesn't matter if you're looking at the flashbang or have your back turned to it, it's going to have the same effect. At the end of the day though, in practical terms at least, I was quite surprised to see that flashbangs are pretty much equal in both of these games. There's not really any significant difference here, and that is a bit strange because flashbangs weren't a really big complaint in Modern Warfare 2019. Perhaps the reason for that one though is I feel like there was a lot more variety in usage for equipment, so perhaps it was just a case of the other tactical equipment in Modern Warfare 2019 having more utility in that game compared to any tactical equipment outside of flashbangs in Modern Warfare 2. And at least from my own experience, that does seem to hold true. I don't really remember ever using flashbangs or very rarely using flashbangs in Modern Warfare 2019 because I feel like stims and stuns were far more useful in that game, whereas in Modern Warfare 2, I don't really see much reason to use anything but flashbangs in that tactical slot unless I'm playing with some strange playstyle. In either case, that's just the first comparison here, and it's pretty much one-to-one. Now I wanted to see what it looks like compared to really old Call of Duty games. So we're taking a look at Modern Warfare Remastered, which does have the same stats applied as the original COD 4. And this one was actually really surprising to me. Stuns were significantly more powerful back in the day with Call of Duty 4. This is insane. I had no idea flashbangs would last this long in that game, or at least I completely forgot that they lasted this long, and that's pretty crazy there. Additionally, in COD 4, there was no counter perk to this. This is just how it worked for everyone, and there's nothing you could do about it. So I do think we have at least come a long way since those days, but now I did want to compare this to a recent Treyarch title. And I know it's different studios, but I was just curious here, so I wanted to compare this to Black Ops Cold War. And it turns out when we're not using the tactical counter perk here, the timings are actually fairly comparable, although I will say with Black Ops Cold War, it didn't completely blind you the same way that you're completely blinded in Modern Warfare 2. In Modern Warfare 2, your screen is literally white. Like, no exaggeration, all you can see is white. Whereas in Cold War, it kind of took like a snapshot of what you were seeing in that moment, and then anything else that would happen would be a blur in the background, but you could still technically sort of make out shapes in the background, and as a result, you could somewhat fight back against enemy players, or at least somewhat figure out where you are on the map to maybe get yourself out of that situation a little more effectively. And this one wasn't quite as much of a surprise to me. Treyarch does seem to be a little bit more careful with their balancing approaches when it comes to this stuff to provide a little bit better counterplay, at least in my opinion. However, the big comparison here is the strength of the tactical grenade counter perk. So Battle Hardened in Modern Warfare 2 or TAC Mask in Black Ops Cold War, it's basically the same perk with just a different name. What happens when we're using the counter perk? Well, this is where it's a pretty laughable comparison between the two. In Modern Warfare 2019, you still get blinded for a brief period of time, enough time that if someone immediately pushes you after that, you're not really going to have too much of a chance to fight back. Whereas in Cold War, it's like it has no effect at all. It's almost a full counter to a flashbang grenade. And I did find that to be quite interesting, and that is where we're going to wrap it up for the comparison between different games. I mainly chose these particular games because they're the ones that I currently have installed on my console. But that should give you a bit of a comparison, and I've got to admit, I was very surprised to see some of these results. Before looking at this, I would have sworn that the flashbang in Modern Warfare 2 is more powerful than it's ever been in Call of Duty history. And that's not the case at all. Clearly, in Modern Warfare Remastered, and by extension Call of Duty 4, flashbangs were definitely more powerful, and they also didn't have counterplay. But in that case, we haven't played those games for so many years, so I can see why maybe that was overlooked. But especially in the case of the comparison between Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 2019, I was very surprised to see that the flashbang is about the same. It maybe has a very slightly different effect, but the practical timings of them are essentially the same here. And so maybe flashbangs aren't quite as bad as many of us thought they were. Having said that though, I still feel like there's some room for improvement when it comes to this, because obviously more people seem to be having an issue with flashbang grenades this year compared to previous years, and I don't think these complaints are just coming out of thin air. I think part of it may have to do with the balancing of the other tactical grenades. Like I said earlier, I think maybe we're just seeing more flashbang usage in Modern Warfare 2, and therefore that's leading to more complaints about the flashbang in this game. So maybe this is a sign that the other tactical equipment could use some buffs in some other areas. Or perhaps maybe we should just see some adjustments to counterplay to the flashbangs in this game. Personally, I would still like to see the Battle Hardened perk buffed a little bit in relation to flashbangs in this game. I don't think your screen should go completely white at all if you're using Battle Hardened. Of course, it should still have an effect on you. I just don't think they need to take it all the way to Cold War levels. I think that was a little overkill when it comes to counterplay to it. But I do feel like if you're using the perk that's specifically designed for the purpose of countering a flashbang, then more often than not, that perk should be able to save you from that piece of tactical equipment. And in the game's current state, I'm really not seeing that too much. Sure, it helps a little bit, and it may save you sometimes, but I think it should be saving you a bit more often than that. Additionally, something I've seen a lot of people suggest, and I could be on board with this, perhaps for the future of Call of Duty. I think it's too late to implement something like this into Modern Warfare 2, but perhaps we could see a system where if you aren't directly looking at that flashbang when it goes off, if it's not in your field of view when it goes off, then perhaps make it so there's less of an impact on you. Still make it so it flashes you to some degree, but just limit how much it affects you if you're able to turn your vision away from that flashbang when it goes off. Obviously, this would have to be locked to a static field of view, so there aren't any benefits for having a super low field of view here. But I do think something like that would be really nice because it provides a nice soft counter to a flashbang, and I really like adding that extra depth to counterplay when it comes to things. But again, I feel like that's something that's not likely to be possible for this current game because a whole system would have to be developed for that. But it is just an interesting idea perhaps for the future of Call of Duty. And then one last note I wanted to bring up here is at the very least, I'd love to see an accessibility setting to make it so if you get flashed, instead of your screen going white, make it go black. Some other games have implemented this as well, and this is more so just to save your eyes, especially if you're playing in a dark room, for instance. When you get flashed and your screen is literally the brightest it can possibly be, that can be pretty hard on your eyes. So it would be nice if you had a toggle to make it so when you get flashed, your screen will turn black rather than white. And with that, that's pretty much everything I've got for today's video. I was honestly very surprised by these results, and I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about this in the comments down below. After seeing this comparison with the flashbangs from other Call of Duty games, were you surprised to see that Modern Warfare 2's flashbangs aren't significantly worse than previous games? And also, do you feel like there should be any adjustment to the flashbangs in this game? And if so, which adjustments would you like to see? Just let me know all of those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.